Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. And this video is going to be addressing the secret doctrine found within the Bible. Taken from The Student's Monthly Letter by Manly P. Hall, May 1937. The Secret Doctrine in the Bible. Dear friend, the Vedas, the sacred books of the ancient Aryan Hindus, appear to be the oldest of spiritual writings and the source of most of the sacred books now venerated throughout the world. The religious traditions of the ancient Hindus are of incredible antiquity. The traditions of these people indicate that the laws and institutions of the gods were revealed to the progenitors of the Aryans in the highlands of the Himalaya mountain country nearly 1,000,000 years ago. The migration of the Aryan tribes, first southward, then westward, resulted in the establishment of several sub-races and cultures. The migrating tribes carried with them the sacred traditions of their ancient gods. With the development of writing, the records passed from the memories of priests and scribes to the more permanent and impersonal media of stone, clay, and papyrus. For the Vedas poured forth the streams of religious tradition which, flowing into various nations down through the ages, appear in the course of time as the single source of the numerous scriptural writings of the world. Great saints and sages interpreting this ageless wisdom wrote their commentaries or restated in terms of their own day the Vedic lore and the sacred tradition. In China, Lao Tzu and Confucius were the interpreters, and the writings have become scripture. In India, Buddha was the great emissary. In Persia, it was Zoroaster. In Egypt, Anakton and Hermes. In Greece, Orpheus, Pythagoras, and Plato. In Syria, it was Moses, and later Jesus. Bibles, so-called, are collections of inspired writing and the recording of ancient oral traditions. They are accumulated over immense periods of time and can usually be traced to the lore of preceding civilizations. They are built up from earlier fragments and should never be regarded as revelations in the sense of being delivered in toto to any individual by some divine being. The revelation factor is generally limited to interpretation. Some illumined individual contemplating sacred matters perceives some deeply concealed value, and by placing some special emphasis upon this new aspect comes to be regarded as a religious founder. Among ancient peoples, sacred writings were reserved for the contemplation of initiated priests and were not available to the laity. The priest interpreted such parts of the scriptures as applied to the problems of the occasion. The populace, gathered before the temple, received their spiritual instruction from initiates of the priestly orders who stood upon the porch of the holy house and seldomly expounded the laws. These priests were equipped with the keys to the spiritual allegories by which they were enabled to unlock the profounder parts of the spiritual tradition. After the decline of the mysteries, the sacred books fell into the hands of the profane, with the result that the subtler values were lost. According to the teachings of the old initiates, the spiritual traditions were likened to the flame burning forever upon the altars of the gods. The flame was divided into 7 flames, and these in turn were divided into 7, the result being 49 fires, or 49 spiritual revelations, called in the Cabbala of Moses the 49 gates of the law. Thus, out of the one eternal truth came forth the 7 world religions, each in turn divided into 7 lesser parts, although constituting the divine wisdom. The scriptures of the world are the written records devised to preserve and at the same time to conceal the secrets of the 49 branches of the eternal law. It naturally follows that there is a certain interdependence between religious writings. To understand any one sacred book completely, it is necessary to also understand all other sacred books. In spite of human prejudice to the contrary, there is but one religion and one truth, and all the great faiths of the world are parts or fragments of the ancient wisdom. It has been difficult for human beings to accept this truth, and for the lack of inter-religious understanding, there has been very little religious understanding. Each man clinging to his own book, hugging to his heart his own fragment of the law, has believed that there is a peculiar virtue in proclaiming a part and denying the rest. The Christian Bible is the principal sacred book of the Western world. It is usually divided into two parts and occasionally into three parts by the insertion between the Old and New Testament of the Apocrypha or doubtful books. The Old Testament sets forth the secret doctrine in Israel. It is a Kabbalistic book, almost unintelligible without the assistance of certain commentaries. The New Testament derives its teachings from the Essene mysteries of Syria, the Mithric cults of Persia, the Seraphic rites of the Egyptians, the Simonian Gnostic, also of Syria, and the Neoplatonism of Alexandria. It follows that the unknown authors of the Gospels were men learned in the comparative religious systems of their day. It is impossible at this time to engage in speculation or controversy as to the identity of the Gospel writers. It is sufficient to say that they possessed a working knowledge of the secret doctrine and cunningly contrived to conceal this knowledge in what is made to appear as an historical narrative of the life and works of an individual. We must concern ourselves with the Old Testament, like the Christian revelation. The Mosaic tradition sets forth under the guise of history an elaborate metaphysical system derived directly from the older Egyptian lore and indirectly from Chaldea, Phoenicia, and India. Moses was an initiate of the secret schools of Egypt, and the Pentateuch, usually ascribed to Moses, is the surviving remnant of the most profound teaching. It is quite unlikely that the Pentateuch has descended to the present time in anything resembling its original form. In fact, there is considerable evidence that the true books of Moses were lost in the night of time. But whatever be the cause, it is certain that although somewhat distorted in form, the ancient wisdom still survives in the Old Testament writings and can be extracted therefrom with the aid of certain keys and patient, illuminated research. Our interpretation of the biblical writings is based upon a system of cross-reference in which all the great schools of ancient religion and philosophy are considered as one composite structure. Thus, each system is interpreted in the light of the others. As each religion has been built up from innumerable older beliefs, the understanding of these various background beliefs is absolutely necessary. The gaps in one system, where the tradition has been mutilated or lost, can be filled in from other systems of similar tradition. If the work is painstakingly done, the result is a complete picture by which the student is able to comprehend the correct meaning of obscure passages and fill in perplexing vacancies. The important thing is to be sure that the building in is done from the same stream of tradition as the religion that is being reconstructed. Whisper of a rose, behold me, an offspring of darkness and light, with soft, tender petals of radiant white, with golden heart mystery, full of perfume. That is, soul of my breath, the secret of bloom. Infinity's center is heart of the rose, and the breath of creation its perfume that flows through ages and eons and time yet untold. But the soul of the breath I may not unfold. By Mora. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Your help is much needed. Thank you very much.